Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. What a game that was. That was elite football. It really, really was. And Man City were monsters. Complete monsters. We'll go through the team because there were some huge performances. Let me know your man of the match in the comments down below. There are 7 or 8 easy picks there. And I think in terms of the strengths of what Man City players provide to a man, they were all fantastic in this one. This could be the final. Some would say should be the final. And this Bayern Munich side, they are not chumps. And they froze in the second half, but they were sort of forced to freeze by Man City, who were frothing at the mouth. This Man City side were feeling themselves. Not literally. They were, wow. Loved that. Really, really enjoyed watching that game. If you did as well, let me know. If you like the game itself, you know, we talk about all the sort of, he's got to go, all this stuff. The game, you know, the tactics, that was an absolute joy to watch. And we're going to dive into it. If you are new to the channel, do me a favour, hit that subscribe button. Can we get 2,000 likes on this video? Hit the like button if you bloody love football. Because it's games like this. 2 teams just bloody going at it. Hammer and or tongs. Right, let's talk about the lineups. I've got loads of stuff written down here. And another question for you guys from the start here. Name on the trophy now for Man City. 3-0 up. Obviously, they're on the harder side of the draw. And it could be Real Madrid in the next round. But that was really a huge statement win. And when they're at their best, can anyone touch them? It's tough. You know, I did a video talking about Arsenal and how they are underdogs now, in my opinion. And I got some comments, people kind of going, oh, you're an Arsenal hater. That is not it. Watch this game, see how good this Man City side are, and see how good, and look at their stats over the last few seasons, how good they are when it comes to the running. You know, you'll find the little tiny needle in the haystack when it comes to, I think I've done a Samism there, when it comes to Pep Guardiola sort of getting stuff wrong. I think, you know, Champions League final against Chelsea, I think is a great example of that tactically. But he was spot on today. And the big thing he did was bring in Bernardo Silva. We'll talk about Bernardo Silva at length, for sure. But I want to start off with what I thought was really interesting, which was the sort of the size difference of these two teams. Now, I thought that Man City would really dominate when it comes to set pieces. And that third goal, I think, is an interesting reflection of that. We'll get to the third goal as well. But in terms of that starting lineup, what I saw straight away was no size, really, from Bayern Munich. I think what Bayern Munich were trying to do here, they were going with fluidity, they were going with dribblers, they were going with movement, players that could take the opposition out of the game, and in particular Man City, who were going to have, as I said, that size. I think he knew Ake is probably going to play in this one, Ruben Diaz is going to definitely play in this one, Stones is going to play in this one, and you need players that can take players out of the game. And I think Bayern Munich obviously sort of wobbled in the second half, but if you think of those first 2 goals, you know, one is a poor mistake with fantastic press from Grealish. The second goal. The first goal is an absolute screamer. Now, could something have been done? We'll talk about that as well. But those are sort of 2 tricky goals, right? And if let's have a look at the stats. When we have a look at the stats, you know, Bayern Munich came and had, you know, a bit of a go here. How often do we see the away team at Man City, at the Etihad, having 56% possession? Now, the expected goals isn't great, but there is a moment in that game where Musiala gets the ball. It's great movement from Bayern Munich. Musiala actually doesn't get that finish totally wrong. I think this is one where you've got to hold your hands up and go, no. Man City were unbelievably elite in this one. And Ruben Diaz, his performance alone is a great example of that. And the blocking of shots is a big part of that as well. Because they didn't get too many big chances here. But in terms of, I think an interesting one here is they got 12 shots off, but 5 of those were blocked. And I think a big part of that, I guess, was Ruben Diaz and just the sort of the frothing of the mouth. They were so up for it, Man City, defensively, importantly, as much as offensively. And it showed in the end. Obviously, they had the quality as well. I'm really looking forward to sort of running through each player because I just thought they were so good. But let's have a look at the average positions, actually, of Bayern Munich, because I think that reflects the sort of the tactics of which Tuchel sort of went with. I just want to quickly... Do we want to talk about the stats anymore? Is there anything else interesting there? shots inside the box maybe from Man City. 4 big chances, 2 of those missed as well. Man City deserved it, but I think the reason that their possession was lower is that they went quickly, they went in really fast transition, and they didn't mess about. Let's have a look at the average positions, because I think John Stones' role in this game was so interesting. As I said, massive size difference. You've got Choupo-Moting, you've got Goretzka, who's got that bit of size to him, and you've got Kimmich in there. But really, in terms of big players, you've got the back 3. That's the end of it. And when you look at Akanji, Diaz, Ake, Rodri, Stones, Haaland, a lot of size in that team. A lot of size. And I think that helped defensively at times and made it a bit harder, because also Bayern Munich then have to play in a different style. Let's have a look at those average positions that I keep talking about, because that shows it as well. There was a real fluidity from Bayern Munich. Players not being where you would expect them to be, but if you can see from their heat map, getting on the ball all over the pitch, really sort of moving it about. Kingsley Coman had a real go at Kanji. Kanji pushed and pushed and pushed. Nathan Ake was superb in this game. So good. So many headers. And I've always been quietly sceptical of Nathan Ake. And just how good is he? He proved something to me today, because his one-on-one defending was absolutely superb, because they were like the Red Arrows at times in terms of, looking to have those little movements, trying to sort of just peel off to the side. I thought Musiala got on the ball and had moments in the first half, faded badly in the second half. I thought Goretzka, if you watch that first goal back, what's interesting about him is that he kind of lets himself down here, because what he doesn't do is doesn't show the awareness needed. Now, Rodri scores an absolute screamer. And the big thing I want to say about Rodri is that Rodri could have sat back and chilled a little bit. But if you, again, go and watch that goal back, what's so interesting about that goal is a couple of things. John Stones' role and what that allows, but also the fact that Rodri, in terms of going forward, is very comfortable stepping into those positions where he can get himself on the ball. And he does that in this one. But again, if you look at it as well, what happens is Goretzka doesn't keep an eye on the situation. And Kevin De Bruyne is over on the left-hand side. Now, he plays the bulk of the game, Kevin De Bruyne, on the right-hand side. I forgot what number he is. That's outrageous, isn't it? There he is. He plays the bulk of the game on the right-hand side. But for that passage of play, Goretzka's expecting another runner, because they were working down that side quite a lot. You'll see it with Bernardo Silva in his heat map as well. There you go. But at that moment, De Bruyne was on the other side of the pitch. He was in this little spot here, actually a little bit wider than that. And what Goretzka did, he got sort of sucked over to the left-hand side. And then Rodri stepped into this area here and was completely free. And it looked pretty lazy from him, but it was just poor awareness more than anything else. Let's talk about Man City. Let's run through this team, because, as I say, the second goal is great stuff from Grealish. Upamecano, poor lad, fell away, and it was a clear idea there to let him have the ball and look to press him. I think he's very, very good on the ball and did thread some good balls, but he takes some risky passes at times and did give the ball away a decent amount as well. Here we go. Man City. Wow. To run through it, I thought Akanji incredibly professional. They actually really sort of targeted him down that left-hand side a lot of the time. But when they had the ball, Man City, John Stones was able to step in. Now, this is the big thing with John Stones, is if you watch it, and I actually haven't looked at this stat yet, but I'll go see it. I'll go find it. And it might be the passes that he received were, as part of a normal back four. And he did go and get it everywhere. And he had a bit of freedom at times. And that comes when we look at the third goal. The fact is, and we talk about that size difference, the ball goes in, they've had a couple of corners, the ball then goes out, right? The 3 players, Diaz races back, but the 3 players that stay in the box, Akanji, Stones and Haaland. Now, it's a good few seconds. The cross is from pretty deep. But to have that size, and again, it's the little nuances of which Pep Guardiola instills in this team. Things like, you 3 stay, because you've got that size. We'll have our guys doing the recovery runs. The midfield will get back into position as well. We'll let you stay in that. And then what is always and constantly what Man City are doing using this size is they aim for the back post. Now, normally that's Erling Haaland. Normally it's De Bruyne to Erling Haaland. And actually we saw it once or twice where actually there was Diaz and Haaland at the back post. But on this occasion, it was Stones. Stones knew Haaland was going to be on the other side of it, but it was always going to be going to that back post. That's where the crosses go when it comes to Man City, because they have that size. And that's something that no one talks about. Pep Guardiola in his first season, at Man City, that was where he lost a lot of points. They were able to get a little bit bullied. This isn't La Liga. You can't play Mascherano as a centre-back, really. And that is one thing that he's been looking for throughout. Look at that back four, the size of that back four. Akanji. I mean, it's 4 centre-backs, isn't it? Rodri as well. Size. And that was a huge part of that third goal. And again, the defensive side of it as well. But what I liked about John Stones, he was a decoy. They didn't pass the ball to him. Look, the cross, of course, he gets the set piece. He gets the header, but that's from a cross. During the game, what it allowed was Gundogan to stay much higher up the pitch, for the other forward players to play much higher up the pitch, and actually even Rodri to play higher up the pitch and squeeze them all up higher up the pitch. And they generally went round the sides. But again, if you watch the game back, and let's go to those play stats, because this is where I get absolutely destroyed, right? Because in terms of passes and passing, he'll probably be quite high up there. But where he took those passes, let's have a look. He's quite far down. He really is quite far down. I didn't think it would be that low. But he was a decoy throughout. And that's something to keep an eye on moving forward, because it's interesting, because he steps in with such nonchalance and everyone will go, oh, he's so great there. He doesn't pick up the ball that often in terms of getting it and turning. Look, he's comfortable, and if it's in a sort of a wide space, he's fine. But he's also allowed to do the easy work for Rodri, so that Rodri can be that little bit higher up the pitch as well. Really, really clever stuff. Final player we have to talk about is the man, the myth. It's Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva in this game is an absolute joke. And let me show you all of his stats, because he is absolutely indispensable. And this is another thing that Guardiola does. Guardiola, in these big Champions League games, he wants that worker on that right-hand side. And that is why Mahrez didn't play. 2 reasons in particular. One, exactly what I've just said. That hard work that you're going to get. Gabriel Jesus used to be the guy. Bernardo Silva can be the guy, has been for the last few seasons. He played in a load of different positions, but went back to that right-hand side today. The second reason was to stop Alphonso Davies. The thing with Alphonso Davies, he is lethal, he is electric, but he's a little bit silly in some of the runs that he makes. And he will look to go at you and go at you and go at you. And what Bernardo Silva was always going to do was he was going to track back. You saw quite often, without the ball, De Bruyne was allowed to conserve his energy. It was a 4-4-2, and Bernardo Silva just did the doggy work. He just did it constantly. He is so incessant, and his stats prove it as well. Defensively, this is ridiculous. I'm not sure I've ever seen this before, okay? But have a look at this. Have a look at this, right? Tackles, 8. Okay? Interceptions, he got 1. But the big one for me, look at the amount of duels he took part in. That's, look, he's not winning all those duels. That's not the point. He's there, and he's a rat. He is a rat. Just like nipping at people's ankles constantly. 23. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And he scored a goal, and he got an assist. He's a monster. And he does it in a different way. And that's what's so good about this team. I thought De Bruyne showed wonderful vision. I thought Grealish, another great example of what he does off the ball. He works so hard for the team now, has a newfound tenacity that I don't think we've really seen with him. Diaz ready to block. Stones just walking through games now and offering something different. And it's the knock-on effect. I nearly said something else there. It's the knock-on effect of popping John Stones there and it allowing everyone else to move on, or allowing Gundogan to have that freedom in terms of his runs, or allowing him to get that little bit closer on the left-hand side to Grealish. That's the brilliance of Pep Guardiola. It was nuanced. It was fantastic. It was so high level. And I really enjoyed it. But Bernardo Silva, hands down, you know, he's like Kante at this point. He's an attacking Kante. Unbelievable performance by Man City. Name on the trophy. I asked it at the start of the video. If they play to that level with that tenacity and are switched on as well as they were, you just can't see them being stopped, can you? You know, things happen in football, and that's why we love it, right? But that was wild. Really, really good. Bayern Munich weren't that bad. Maybe a little bit toothless, but again, it's Man City, and they defended for their lives. And actually, Sommer made some really, really good saves in goal for them as well. Looks like this one's done. And I'm done as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, why not hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on your way out, and I'll see you all very, very soon.